Welcome to Nostalgicast, your weekly roundup of the best and most up-to-date nostalgic news, where we discuss the stories from a safe distance,
Hey!
and give our thoughts. I am your host, who got it up to 88 miles,
Oh, God.
Andrew Price. Tyler Palos, where we're going, we don't need Tyler Palos.
Cool.
What happens in the future, Doc? Do we turn into assholes? No, you turn out fine, Marty. It's your Kelby Josephs. Something's got to be done about your Kelby Josephs. And Dad Beats, a.k.a. Teenage Dad Beats, a.k.a. Kirk Pinchon.
Dad Beats!
Booyakasha.
What's going on, guys?
Hey!
Hello.
You're supposed to harmonize, not just hit the same note I'm hitting.
I don't know what harmonizing means.
Yeah, so before we get into the stories, so Trina, I mean, this thing is all over the place because she said this thing, it went viral, then she kind of like walked it back, like we talked about last episode, and kind of said that like she was quote unquote PMSing. And now she revealed that Will Friedle, who played Eric Matthews, Fine.
Marty, the president's daughter.
Oh man, hats off to Will Friedle for doing that 20 times an episode because I couldn't even do it once. He was the one that made the Aunt Jemima joke. She tweeted, Will Friedle, the man responsible for Aunt Jemima Gate, apologized to me 22 years ago and again days ago in a 3-page letter. We talked more on it, and he acknowledged that he really wasn't educated enough in his early 20s to know he was truly offending me. Is there construction going on inside of your house?
People eating lunch loudly. Shh.
Yell at him like you yelled at that one girl, that one.
No. Don't name names.
Yeah, you yelled at her.
Heather Locklear.
She had a comment.
Yeah, there we go. There's that Aunt Jemima spouting face. She said he was the one that said it. But also, she said that he apologized to her 22 years ago.
Yeah, right?
So
And again.
Listen. I am all for people getting called out for doing shitty stuff, whether it's racist stuff, sexist stuff that's worse than that people are getting called out for now. And I'm all for things getting brought to light years later. If somebody did something shitty, like really bad, like if somebody said something stupid when they were like a teenager, and then you bring it back up and try to like throw them under the bus or get them canceled now for something that they said decades ago in a different time, a different culture, a different, and then they were just a kid, and it wasn't like horrible. It wasn't something that was like a crime that they should have been caught for. I think that's a little extreme, but I'm all for if somebody did something really just terrible decades ago and they just never got called out for it. I'm all for being like, you know what? I'm going to finally say this. This person did this awful thing 20 years ago or whatever.
I'm confused.
I'm all for that. But usually in those situations, these people did these things. They didn't apologize for it. They got away with it. They oftentimes like go on pretending like they are, a lot of times the reason why people get called out for these things is when they do something terrible and then like later on they go out in the public and they act like they're some advocate for this thing. They act like they're like some great person. And then the person is like, really? Because you said this 10 years ago or whatever. usually people are getting called out for like being hypocrites. And I think Kelby just dropped off, but hopefully he'll join back
Kelly
in.
was like, I'm out
He
of
was
this
like-
conversation.
He's like, I'm out.
Usually, I mean, he's still here with us in spirit, or literally behind Kirk. Usually people are getting called out for these things because they like got away with it and they didn't answer for their misdeeds at all. But from her own admission, he apologized to her back when it happened. And he apologized to her like in a very heartfelt and real way, because she said last time we talked about this, she said that he told her sorry. She said that he told her that it was like a life-changing experience and that it like made him realize like things about himself and about the way he needed to conduct himself. And it was kind of vague on like when he said that. When she said it, like from what we read last week, it was kind of vague on like when that apology happened. But now she's revealed that it was 22 years ago. So 22 years ago, he gave her a heartfelt apology and said that it was a life-changing moment and it taught him about himself and taught him about the way that he conducted himself and made him more aware of how his words affected others. And he said this 22 years ago. Like around the time that the episode happened, so shortly afterward. It wasn't like a thing like delayed by years. So like I said, I'm all for calling people out on things that they did that were shitty or fucked up. But to me, it sounds like she's just throwing this guy under the bus, even though he gave her a heartfelt apology years ago. Like, I don't know. Why bring this up?
Yeah, because it starts out like, oh shit, some real stuff happened to her that no one got called out on. And then you hear, oh yeah, it was addressed. Oh, it was addressed, so then why was it brought up in the first place? It's confusing.
Yeah.
It's very
like,
confusing.
What, like, are human beings not capable of change and growth? Are we responsible for every dumb thing that we've said our entire lives, even if we've apologized for them already?
But it also sounds like she forgave him 22 years ago.
Exactly. So
So-
why bring this up?
Yeah, that's confusing. It's odd. I don't understand why.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel constructive to me.
I know exactly what it is. She ain't book a role in a couple years. I mean, she's only worth $2 million.
Kelly.
I know what the vibe is. That's not that hard to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to handle it well because he like apologized to her like again and sent her a 3-page letter. And she, from her own description, she's like he did it. He handled it well. I forgave him, so I think he'll be fine. I don't think this is gonna like damage him at all. But it just still feels like why do this?
I don't know.
It doesn't feel constructive.
I don't know if you know anything about Will Friedle, but Will Friedle he doesn't like acting in person. Like, he doesn't like being in set. He doesn't like live action. So he actually built a studio in his house for the sole purposes of being a voice actor. They're not gonna take him off of whatever random shows he's on right now for this stuff that nobody knows he's on. He's just collecting a check, working in his living room. Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna affect him in any kind of way.
Now Tyler left? What is happening?
End
This
of
is
days.
This is the apocalypse.
Yep.
Well, he'll come back. The state of Georgia is planning to reopen their movie theaters.
Too soon.
This week. It's right now. It's next week, but by the time you hear this, it's this week. So if this all happens according to plan, as of this episode, as you're hearing this, movie theaters are open in Georgia because this episode drops on the same day that they're supposed to be open. Georgia will begin to open movie theaters early this week. Governor Brian Kemp made the announcement today. Tai?
Your boy is a follower. Gotta do what Kelby does.
You know the vibes.
Just don't let those vibes block your coin. And also don't let them block your greeny papers from your wallet hole. Whatever I said last week, I forget. Movie theaters in Georgia are gonna be open as of today, April 27th. Governor Brian Kemp made the announcement today. Kemp says that movie theaters will be subject to special social distancing and other sanitation mandates, and will be allowed to reopen. Over the weekend, Kemp announced the drive-in theaters would be able to remain open during the world's current state of affairs. Late last week, the White House laid out a 3-phase template to get businesses across North America up and running. Governor Brian Kemp wants the states to get back to work, but he also wants to make sure that adequate safety precautions are being handled. The entities in which I am reopening are not reopening as business as usual. Each of these entities will be subject to specific restrictions, including adherence to the minimum basic operation, social distancing, and regular sanitation. This is certainly good news for the state of Georgia. AMC and Cinemark will undoubtedly start working up a plan to get theaters up and running again, along with some promotions to get people back into the seats. It is important to note that China tried this very same tactic and it backfired in a spectacular fashion. So basically, after China had kind of like gotten over the Ronas, after they were like, all right, we did it, it's gone, they reopened everything. The public like took to the streets in droves. There was like insane amounts of people out in the world. And while it hasn't totally relapsed, it resulted in a second wave of the virus.
I'm wondering, the two things that I took away from this. One, there's nothing to watch.
Yeah.
There's nothing to watch. I'm not going to go, if I was in Georgia, I'm like, hey, they're showing The Hunt. Let's go see The Hunt in a theater.
Yeah,
and maybe get COVID-19.
Whatever your belief is on this whole thing, whether you think that the quarantine is necessary, or if you're one of these like conspiracy theorists who think that the whole thing is like overblown still, and think that it's some kind of weird deep state like plan by like the New World Order to collapse the economy so that we can all be united under like the Antichrist or whatever your beliefs are on this, whether you're a smart person or an idiot. It's optimistic to the point of naive to think that this will have any kind of positive result. Because like Kirk said, there's no movies. There's no hype for any movies. Movies haven't been being advertised as coming out in theaters for months. People are still going to be nervous about going to the theater. So to think that like, oh, if we reopen theaters, we're just going to suddenly start making money again is insane.
Totally. I think also, speaking of, conspiracy theories in the deep state and all that nonsense, at least speaking for me, I would love it if this Georgia thing went great. No one's hoping that this fails. We're all like, hey, great. If the Georgia thing works out great and everyone is fine and healthy, go ahead and throw that in my face. Great. that means we're all going to be healthy. Things are getting better. So
Yeah,
it's not like no one wants them to be like, don't do it because of conspiracy theories. But yeah, throw it in my face. Tell me that I was wrong all along, and I'll be like, you're right, I was. I'm so glad I was wrong. I'm so dumb, but yet we're all healthy. So I don't get even that argument.
Yeah, that's the weird thing I don't understand about the whole thing is like why I just don't get what people think, like why people think that anybody like wants a virus to be deadly and killing people.
Yeah.
Like why? Like I don't understand why anybody would want to believe that.
Yeah, and that we want to stay home.
Yeah,
like I want to be with my family.
Nobody.
I mean, day 41.
Nobody likes this except for me, who loves this.
Because you're clinically insane.
I'm actually dreading when this whole thing ends, but I'm not the normal person.
Yeah,
most people do not like this. Yeah. There's nobody who's like.
I enjoyed the time. There's so many things like I've always wanted to do and never had the quite time to do it or to look at it or whatever. But on the other hand, at the same time, ain't nobody making no money. It's hard. 26 million people now. That's a lot. So I understand the frustration. One thing I will say about this.
Nobody wants that. I mean, joking aside of me just personally liking hanging out in my house and stuff like that.
Home.
Nobody wants any of this to be happening. Nobody wants there to be 26 million jobs lost. Nobody wants for us to not be able to go out and like go to stores. Right. Nobody wants to not be able to go to fun stuff, and like nobody wants this. Like why would anybody want this to be happening?
What I will say about this though is I think it's a great lesson in perspective. I feel like while we live here, we feel like everywhere else is so much better. So how they do things, not how we do things. And I saw something interesting last week. There were some Canadians that were what do they call when they're in the street, like with the picket signs?
Protesting.
Kelby, you're so far removed from the idea of protesting that you can't remember the word.
It's hard for me because I'm thinking about the words in French and then I'm saying it in English.
Oh yeah.
But
that's like the joke I think from The Simpsons where somebody's like, "Oh, it costs $0.25," and Mr. Burns is like, "What's a quarter?"
No. I know the word. I'm just like in my mind. I'm thinking in a different language. So I see that, and then immediately after I saw a post.
Hold on. What's the French word for protesting?
Quand ils sont il en a des signes, ils marchent comme ça.
Yeah.
Just
start speaking in French, dude. It's awesome. Just say your piece in French. It's great.
Oui, ils sont dehors parce qu'ils veulent travailler encore, ils veulent ouvrir le business. Et puis, so that's all I'm saying. So they're outside protesting, and so the post right under that is a meme that's just like Americans, Canada looking at Americans rioting because they want to get back to work and stuff like that. And it's like, yo, dude, everywhere in the world there are dumb people. Everywhere. It's not better there or here or this or that. Like everybody in the world is dealing with this of one way or another. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's a very good lesson in perspective to understand like ultimately people are people and we all come up with the same ideas, whether it's conspiracy, whether it's stay at home, or whether it's open up movie theaters so that we could replay. I know there's some movie out there that'll make Kirk go to the movies.
White Man Can't Jump would make me go out.
Oh, I would love to see it.
Back in theaters, So there's always something. There's something for everybody.
Wait, Andrew.
Listen. Whether they reopen the theaters or not, even if tomorrow they open the theaters or not, I am not going out there. I'm not going to these theaters.
Oh, no.
But Time Lock could get me to go out.
I would 100% see
this is the perfect time to release Time Lock in like small batches or across the country. Charge like $250 to go see Time Lock.
I'd pay $20.
That's
Kirk, I'll give you $20 whenever I go see it, just for you.
You know we don't negotiate with criminals.
That's facts. That's
He
facts.
said it.
That's facts.
He fucking
That's
said the
facts.
line, guys. He did that.
Oh, we'll get her, sir. That's my other line.
And then, and then have, as you know how the Pixar's have the short films in front of them, time lock, but it opens with the episode of Nightman.
Oh my God, I'd be raking in the residuals.
Yeah.
You have kids, don't you?
I can't even remember that line.
Steven and Tanya, yeah,
They're
adorable.
They're adorable. And then I pass out.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Kelby said something important, and I wanted Andrew's thoughts on it.
Oh.
Finish the thought that Kelby had because it's really great. People are people.
There's idiots all over the world.
No. Finish what people are people. What's the next line? So why should it be you and I should get along so awfully? Andrew.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were trying to get Kelby to finish the line.
No. Oh my God.
That's what you wanted?
Yeah.
That's what you wanted? I thought you wanted my real thoughts.
No, I wanted you to sing. Isn't that a rare instance where I actually want you to sing?
I can't give it to you in those moments.
Oh, God damn it.
What a
Cut this part
tease.
out. I'm so upset.
This whole thing
But
up.
Bane thinks that everybody should keep social distancing. It's not worth it to go see. Fucking who even? What even movies are there?
Trolls?
No
Bloodshot.
movies. One Shot,
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. The only movie that would ever get you to go out to the theater would be Hoosiers. I bet you thought I was gonna say the movie I was in, Dark Knight Rises. No, Hoosiers.
Bane loves Hoosiers.
Re-release Hoosiers, the movie that Dennis Hopper won an Oscar for.
All right. Here's
He didn't win an Oscar
hold
for
on.
that.
Hold on.
He didn't win an Oscar for Hoosiers.
No.
I think he did.
I thought he was nominated.
That was the thing was that he won an Oscar for Hoosiers.
Really?
And people speculated that the Academy was giving him the Oscar for Blue Velvet, but
This
They
turned-
couldn't
Oh, I
get it.
guess he did.
this-
Wait, no.
Yes.
He received
No.
It received two Oscar nominations. He don't think he won.
What?
Hang on. This is the
I'm
most
pretty sure
important.
that Dennis Hopper won an Oscar for Hoosiers.
Bane, what's your favorite part of Hoosiers?
I don't remember. I haven't watched it. I've watched it when I was a kid on HBO, and I haven't seen it since.
The hockey fight part.
My God. Hang on.
How is it this hard to find out if Dennis Hopper won an Oscar for Hoosiers?
Oh, I guess he did win.
Oh!
I thought he was just nominated.
Don't question Bane's.
No.
You merely
Wait,
adopted
he's a nominee.
Hoosiers.
He was a nominee.
Oh shit! Oh, fuck! Now I have to eat crow.
Yeah.
I can't fit a crow into my mask. I can't eat a crow through this mask.
We have bats.
How do I even eat anyway? How do I eat?
How do I eat?
How the fuck do I eat? I've never thought about this before.
How did he get so jacked if he hadn't been eating?
Oh, hey, Bane. Bane.
Yes.
The best supporting actor in 1986, Don Amici.
That's what won?
Yeah, Don Amici won.
What the fuck? What did Dennis Hopper win? What did he win an Oscar for?
I don't think he did. Was it for Blue Velvet?
No.
I think he won
Dennis?
for Cocoon.
Huh? What?
Yep. He won for Cocoon. He beat out Dennis Hopper's Hoosiers for his portrayal of old guy in Cocoon.
Oh yes, he was a nominee for Best Supporting Actor in Hoosiers and a nominee for Best Original Screenplay in Easy Rider.
Easy.
I don't think he's ever won any Oscars.
No. Bane does not know his movie history.
God damn it. I still think that Hoosiers would be a good movie to put back in theaters to get people going.
I mean, it's uplifting. Yes. I paid $250 for it.
All right, well.
Here's the question.
Oh, yeah.
If you do go out, are you really going to also want to pay full freight for a movie right now?
What would the difference be from now? Why would we pay less money now?
Actually, now's better to pay more money because you get more space. When they reopen, you have to only let a number of people in per square foot. So you get a better experience.
Yeah, I guess that's true. All right. I'm going. I'm going to Georgia. I'm going to go see a movie. I'm going to fly back.
You're going to drive to Georgia to see a movie in the theater?
Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. I'll fly back.
Dedication.
Yep.
While you're in Georgia, have a peach for Bane.
Goddamn.
Bane out!
Bane out? Is that how he says goodbye now?
And the peach is not a fruit.
Hey.
Oh my God, Kelby froze at the
Kelby
best
froze
moment.
in that position.
I hope he doesn't come back and he just okay.
Ah, damn it.
I tried to screenshot it. And
I
it
was
took too
also
long.
trying to screenshot it.
Damn. You froze. You had the best look on your face when you froze.
It was a facial expression that was good enough to replace the background that Kirk has.
Yeah, I was going to replace it, but this is pretty. I mean, look at that.
That's hard.
So, Scoob, the Scooby-Doo movie that was coming out, and I think we watched a trailer for it on the show.
I think we did, yeah.
And then
During the before times.
Yeah, and then it got delayed and sort of removed from the schedule. So it has now been announced that it's going to be released digitally. Skip the theaters. On Tuesday, Warner Brothers announced that the animated feature film Scoob will skip theaters and head straight to video in May. The film is a new take on the long-running Scooby-Doo franchise. It'll become available to rent on May 15th for $19.99 in the United States and Canada. It'll be available to buy for $24.99. May 15th was meant for the film's theatrical opening, but the ongoing coronavirus pandemic has made the film the latest to change its plans. Trolls World Tour is another animated film that skipped the theatrical run due to coronavirus. Statement from Warner Brothers CEO says, while we're all eager to be able to once again show our film in theaters, we're navigating new, unprecedented times which call for creative thinking and adaptability in how we distribute our content. Warner Brothers, we know fans are eager to see Scoob, and we're delighted we can deliver this feel-good movie for families to enjoy while they're home together. So yeah, Scoob is going to be out to download May 15th.
Andrew, you're gonna. I know, obviously, you're gonna do it. Are you renting? Or are you buying it?
Rent it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely gonna rent it. Definitely want to watch it. I mean, Scooby-Doo is like, I mean, I love Scooby-Doo. I loved it when I was growing up, and it's remained like kind of a thing that I've been really a fan of. And my son loves Scooby-Doo, as you guys know, because anytime he ever came to the office, he just literally watched Scooby-Doo all day. That's the only reason why he wanted to come with me. And we've been watching Scooby-Doo at home. He likes to watch Little Kid Scooby-Doo, which is a pup named Scooby-Doo, which is the one where they're kids. Because we recently discovered it. I played an episode and he became obsessed with it. So we'll definitely get this. And love it and love every second of it.
What happens when he wants to watch it again, but you only rented it?
Maybe we'll buy it for that purpose. Maybe.
Just thinking ahead.
Yeah, because you're right. Because we rented Onward when it came out in the beginning of April, and paid the full price for it and watched it. And then like a couple days ago, he wanted to watch it again, and by that time it was already on Disney Plus, so we just watched it again on Disney
Okay.
Plus.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that'll be a thing that'll happen with this. So maybe we'll spend a couple extra bucks and buy it.
Might as well.
However, that's not all to the story. Warner Brothers is rethinking their entire distribution model for the foreseeable future. So, and Warner Brothers is the company that is putting out Scoob. So they're in the process of reevaluating their theatrical release model due to ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Since mid-March, the rapid spread of the virus has taken a major toll on the entertainment industry. Blah, blah, blah. We already know that. Although some of these theaters are hoping to reopen in July, it's a decision that seems unlikely at the moment, aside from Georgia, apparently.
Florida and Vegas will follow.
Yeah. With many states initiating stay-at-home orders and encouraging social distancing, some studios have taken to releasing their theatrical releases directly to digital and streaming instead. Universal and Disney were the first to make the transition, with the former even finding some success in their most recent releases. Trolls World Tour made $50 million in video-on-demand sales.
Okay, well, I will say this. I mentioned this in the chat the other day, but I come to realize that I don't think that these major studios are like behind the times when it comes to putting these movies in theaters. You know, when you really think about it, all right, the movie comes out in theaters, and then before, let's say 15 years ago or 10 years ago, they waited 3 months, 6 months maybe, and then they put it on so you could watch it at home, you know, DVD, video, whatever. So when it was out on its theater run, it made all this money for the movie in its first run. It made all this money, and then they gave you some time to miss it so that you can come back and buy it and purchase it and whatever. So now let's talk about streaming. If it goes directly to streaming, I think they're missing out on that first bundle of money that they're getting from it being out on a theatrical run, which means that, yeah, when it comes out, people will purchase it or they'll rent it. But let's say they purchase it immediately. Now that is somebody who could have paid for the movie 2 times, now only paying for it 1 time.
Okay, so that being said, and we can agree that it's super important for it to happen. Do you see this shift from at least this first major company, Universal, going directly to streaming as a main form of their income? Do you see that as like we better hunker down for this to be a lot worse, because the money shows what's going to happen, right? If they think that Corona is going to last until November, that's why they're putting all their money into this kind of streaming platform as if it's going to last, right? Do you think they're being smart in doing that, or do you think they're just using this as a way to transition into a streaming platform base?
Okay, now the ability to stream presents one solution and one problem. Streaming is extremely beneficial for the person who owns the platform. That would be Netflix. Actually, the better company would be Disney. All right, so they have Disney Plus, where for the most part it's all of their own original content, and they're not licensing anything out. So Netflix still has yet to become a profitable business. They say that in order for them to become profitable, their monthly subscription service has to be like $37 a month, something like that. Wow. And so they have these huge lines of credit, which means that they owe a ton of money, a lot of debt, to release films and release TV shows on a weekly or even sometimes maybe daily basis. Why? Because they spend 2 years, 3 years to shoot something. If it's really high quality, they put it out. They put the whole season out, and then people watch it in 7 days and then say, yo, we need more. This is like they're shooting themselves in the foot. So, all right, NBC or whatever film studio puts out a movie and they put it on Netflix, and Netflix pays them a certain amount of money for the movie. Netflix notoriously does not give you anything on the back end, which is another reason why they don't necessarily share their numbers. So they're going to say, hey, you spent $10 million shooting this movie. Cool. We're going to give you $40 million. And Netflix ultimately wants to use that as a tool to invite people to subscribe to their service. So yes, this is extremely beneficial for Netflix, because every single month from here, let's say you subscribe for Netflix because you wanted to see the new Idris Elba movie in January. They're still collecting a check in December, a year later, when that Idris Elba movie made the money, and then that was it. So Disney is the only one where it's like, I can put this out, just like we talked about the story of Onward. They put it out. It invited a bunch of people to their streaming platform. Now you're pretty much paying for the movie Onward every single month.
Yeah.
But they now have to create a form where they have to release content weekly, and not for the bingers, for the people who are binge watching,
Right.
because it has been proven that model is a model for failure. Because we saw Netflix go from spending $1 billion, $2 billion per season to now $17 billion per season to release content for people, and they are still not profitable. To me, that's crazy.
That's insane. Yeah.
Don't ever say that phrase again on this show.
Like, that's crazy?
Profitable? Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, it's in the lexicon. We have to.
True.
Mindset.
Yeah, I think you're definitely spot on that Spectrum is like having some major issues right now, because it seems like my internet's being hit, and I got kicked.
Yeah,
and now it's like been really slow, and seems okay now, but yeah, seems like there's definitely some issues going on
You're a little spotty right now, but we can hear you.
that are affecting all of us. So I didn't catch a lot of that conversation, but hopefully it was good.
It was good.
It was good.
We can move on.
So San Diego Comic-Con 2020 has officially been canceled.
No.
Why?
Damn, that's crazy.
Mindset.
The 2020 San Diego Comic-Con has been officially canceled. It's difficult to encompass the massive impact the coronavirus pandemic has on the world in the last 4 weeks alone.
This is rough.
Obviously, that also includes everything else, like movie theaters, all the things we've talked about in the past. But Comic-Con is sort of like held off on confirming whether they were going to or not. I mean, it was pretty much obvious that it was going to happen, but they've been saying all along, like, we'll see. And it's happened. It's canceled fully for this whole year. In a statement, they said, "Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures, and while we are saddened to take this action, we know it is the right decision. We eagerly look forward to the time when we can all meet again and share in the community we all love and enjoy." And the thing that I find so bizarre is my friend Dave, who was on the show a couple episodes ago. You all met him. You all know him. He's a comic book artist and writer. He pretty much he pretty much makes his whole life and living is based on making comics, and he does basically every convention in the world. That might be a little bit of an overstatement, but there's a period in every year where he's basically out of town for several months and going to a bunch of different conventions across the world, in Europe, in Japan, in all the ones here in the United States. And so, as the convention season has started, all of these conventions have been canceled, and so he's, all these conventions that he had plans to go to have all dropped out, which obviously sucks. But I don't think it's like a world-ending thing for him, but it's definitely something where like his whole life is based around this, is based around this business model where they spend all this money on travel and supplies and printing costs with anticipation of making it back and maybe hopefully turning a profit through sales at the conventions. So it kind of turns that whole thing on its head. And the thing that I find so bizarre, and I guess I understand it, it's something that you kind of have to empathize with because I just am not in the position, is according to him, like, if Comic-Con had decided to go on this year, no matter what, no matter how dangerous it was, no matter how ill-advised it would be, he was gonna go.
Because it's that important.
Yeah, and he whenever it was canceled, he told me that he was so relieved because now he doesn't have to go. Because if it had gone on, he would have gone. So basically what he was saying was like he was willing to risk death if it was happening. And it's just a relief that it was canceled because otherwise he would have gone. So it was almost like saving him from himself, or like it was just such a such a fascinating thing. Because for me, it's like I don't care if it's fucking going on or not. I'm not going. But to him, the only reason why he's not going is because it was canceled. But yeah, so it's canceled. I was gonna go. I was gonna take my son. I went last year with my son. I go and I, hang out with Dave, hang out with a couple other friends that go to Comic-Con, take Ephraim around to all the different things. I was excited to go this year, but now it's not happening.
I mean, isn't it like, is it like hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a lot of people. I don't know what the
It's huge.
Normal turnout for San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know what the
It's
exact numbers
massively
are.
big.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe not normal turnout. Let's say 2019 turnout. Why isn't this a easy thing? Sure, I'll just go with this. It says that attendance in 2015 was 167,000 people.
I mean, and imagine if they had decided to do it and some people were like, I'm not doing it, and it cuts it in half. That's still a fuck ton of people to be near each other. So that's insane how big that thing is.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely would have been good to happen. But there are a lot of people who are just like, and Dave isn't like some dummy who's like doesn't care about the stay-at-home orders or the social distancing. He's like very hyper in tune with that, and he's like very much kind of scared to go outside or be around people. But even still, he was just gonna go.
Weird.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, but now he doesn't have to worry about it.
Don't want anybody to block the coin.
Yeah, I mean
The bag. I mean, it's always
yeah,
about the bag, Kirk.
if anybody's blocking the coin, it's the Rona.
Yeah.
It's them Ronies.
Unless you're Netflix or not Netflix, but any of them tech companies that's like, oh, you ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah.
I saw one girl tweet the other day. She was like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna revive the entire U.S. economy by with my online shopping, y'all. Don't worry, I got this." Amazon
Actually-
liked it.
Actually, speaking of the whole thing you were talking about, which I didn't interject because I just kind of missed a big chunk of the conversation and I just didn't really know the full context of what was being talked about, and I didn't even add this to the outline for the episode because I just didn't think to. But Netflix just reported that they have added 16 million new subscribers so far this year, and they're going to sell like $1 billion worth of bonds to invest in new content.
Yeah. They're doing okay.
That's insane.
Yeah, makes sense. I even almost got Netflix. I don't like spending money.
You mean no one hooked you up?
I mean, listen, man, we're gonna move on to the next topic.
I know you got people who can hook you up.
I ain't watching it anyways. I'm not gonna watch on Netflix.
How dare you? There's good stuff.
What's good on
there.
Netflix?
New Girl.
Ugly
All right,
Delicious.
let's move on. I don't know what that is.
But if
It's
you
a
have Amazon Prime,
it's a
they
food
got
show.
every season of Psych, and we just started watching that, and it's good.
Psych. Nah, we good. If it ain't Monk, I'm good.
Wow.
Psych is very similar to Monk.
Psych is the predecessor to Monk, I believe.
Honestly, I thought they were the same show.
No, definitely not. Psych did not come before Monk.
Are you?
It was around the same time. It's
You're
around
in-
the same time.
No, you guys are insane.
You talking about Monk with Tony Shalhoub?
Tony Shalhoub.
Season one of Monk aired in 2002. Season 1 of Psych,
Probably 2007 then.
2007. You guys are insane.
Oh, damn.
To think that,
That was
Psych
the-
came before Monk.
That was the nerdiest argument
How
ever.
dare you?
It's about the same time to me, but yeah, we can continue.
The Mandalorian season 3 is already in the works for Disney Plus. The October
All shot on Zoom.
what?
It's all shot on Zoom.
Yeah. Yes. The October premiere date for season 2 of The Mandalorian may still feel like far, far away. Ah, I see what they did there. But pre-production has already begun on a third installment of the wildly popular Disney Plus series. Sources close to the production have confirmed that creator Jon Favreau has been I don't know why I pronounced it like that, writing season 3 for a while, and that the art department, led by Lucasfilm Vice President and Executive Creative Director Doug Ching, has been creating concepts for season 3 for the past few weeks. He said, "We've just started pre-production and are looking into further adventures for The Mandalorian in season 3." So yeah, they already have, like, season 2 is already in the can. It's going to come out in October. I guess it must have been shot before any of this happened, obviously.
Damn it.
And now they're already working on season 3. So don't expect any slowdown in the Mandalorian world on Disney Plus anytime soon.
Thank God, because it's all they have.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
I mean,
You're not watching Raven's Home?
I don't even know what that is. Here are the two things I watched on Disney Plus: Mandalorian, fantastic, and a documentary on the world of Imagineering about how the parks were made, also fantastic. Both great pieces of content. Nothing else has
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
But like new content, you're just like,
Oh.
especially like if you did a test and be like, "Hey people, what do you think of when you think of Disney Plus?" They would probably say Mandalorian, and that's it. They should call it Mandalorian Plus. Zing!
Nah, you missing out on Raven's Home.
Is that the Raven Simone show?
Yeah.
It's a new show on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
No? All right.
No, sorry.
Oh, man. Disney Plus is all right, though. It's all right. It's all right.
Was that?
I
Okay,
said
so-
the app, it's all right.
I just watched the first 4 episodes of Mandalorian, and that's it.
It's a great show.
I know, I gotta get back on it.
And speaking of that, speaking of the great show, speaking of the popularity of the show, speaking of what Kirk says is the only thing that they have, it's kind of interesting because in the movie universe, in the movie world for Star Wars, like once they rebooted, or not reboot, once they came up with The Force Awakens and started the new trilogy, they got really big on Star Wars stuff for movies. And basically back then, I think that was in 2015, the whole plan was they did The Force Awakens, and they were going to do 2 more movies. So they were going to do episodes 7, 8, and 9. And their plan was that they were going to have a Star Wars movie every year. So there was going to be a main line series sequel every 2 or 3 years. I forget what the thing was, 7, 8, 9. But then there was going to be, in between those, there was going to be the Star Wars stories. And the first one was Rogue One, and the second one was Solo, and the third one was going to be Boba Fett. And Rogue One came out, and it did okay. Solo came out, and it did really poorly. And basically, after Solo came out and didn't do well, and there was all that behind-the-scenes drama with it, with Chris Miller and Phil Lord getting fired and replaced by Ron Howard, and there was, and then like Colin Trevorrow was fired from episode 9, and J.J. Abrams was rehired to take it over and all that stuff. They majorly rethought their whole Star Wars strategy, and they said, you know what? We kind of maybe got a little ahead of ourselves. We're going to pump the brakes on this a little bit. We're not going to do a Star Wars movie a year. We're canceling all of these Star Wars stories movies, and we're going to focus on the just finishing episode 9, and we'll reassess things from there. So in the movie world, they took a step back because they were like, oh shit, like we kind of overestimated the public's desire for Star Wars content, and it's very clear that they're like really not into this whole Star Wars movie a year thing. But in streaming, it's going the opposite way. So the Mandalorian, the popularity of the Mandalorian, and the fact that it's kind of like the only horse in town for Disney Plus right now. Now Disney Plus has just announced that they are developing a bunch of new Star Wars shows. So we've talked about Star Wars shows in the past. We talked about the fact that they're going to develop a Darth Maul show. We talked about the fact that they're developing an Obi-Wan show. We talked about the fact that the Obi-Wan show got like indefinitely shelved. So the Obi-Wan show is back on track. It's back in the pipeline. They've announced that they're developing several other new Star Wars shows, including a Star Wars show that's going to be set in the new era, so the era of episodes 7, 8, 9. Within that timeline, it's going to be a female-centric Star Wars TV show. It's going to be helmed by what is her name? It's going to be showrun and written, Leslie Headland, who is the creator of Russian Doll on Netflix.
Great show.
So they're doing a new female-centric Star Wars show on Disney Plus, led by the creator of Russian Doll on Netflix. In addition to other unnamed, unspecific Star Wars shows that they're developing. In addition to the fact that Obi-Wan is back on track. And my first reaction to the story was like, oh man, like with the extreme negative backlash to sorry. With the extreme negative backlash to The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and how these like really toxic Star Wars fans are like, we don't like that you put black people and women in these movies. We talked about this a lot on this show. Several episodes back, we talked about this whole thing. I was like, man, like people are really gonna hate this. But before you shitty Star Wars fans get your panties in a bunch about this, and they're just trying to make Star Wars woke and force diversity and blah blah blah. You go woke, you go broke. What we already have the Mandalorian, the fucking manliest macho show ever on Disney Plus. They're doing a Darth Maul show and an Obi-Wan show. That's 3 super dude heavy shows. This is far from them forcing diversity on Star Wars. It's one show out of 4 shows. There's one that's about women. Number one, that's not a big deal. Number one, that is not oversaturating with like quote unquote woke shit. Number two, it's far from like a majority. It's not like it's a quarter of their content slate.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Disney keep putting out this Star Wars stuff. I'm gonna unsubscribe with that other person's account. I've had enough. The Mandalorian boring as hell. I'm good. Like we're good. Put something else at. Like we're good. Enough.
Yeah, but the general public is
Is not Kelby.
Is not going with that.
All right, so let's say this then. They need to put out. I know what they could do to save the streaming platform. They need to put out that Jar Jar Binks game show ASAP Rocky.
That does need to happen.
It needs to happen. He could do it from home on Zoom. That's cool. But all the other shows, like they coming up with all this stuff. I have a feeling that it's too much. Like I understand you purchased Star Wars and it was, Lucasfilms, and it was a very expensive a purchase, and you need to make your money back off of it. But I feel like there needs to be a little bit more diversity in Disney aside from Star Wars and Marvel. So at this point now, like, cool. Y'all want to put another Marvel show out? Cool. Like, or another Star Wars show out? Put it out. And people do have to eventually stop complaining about it, because if they liked it, if you're telling me that people liked Mandalorian, which I saw the first episode and it didn't feel very woke, and it also didn't feel not woke to me, then what are they complaining about? There's something for everybody. Take what you can get. That's what they're giving you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, half of the stuff you said was pretty scratchy. Like, it just shifted out.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, I'm gonna be
Everybody's.
honest. I thought you were gonna say, I'm gonna be honest. Half the stuff you said was just totally dumb.
He's like, I didn't even listen.
Possibility.
But everybody, everything's real patchy. I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean this is we're just accepting that this is a shit show. Like this is gonna be a nightmare to edit. But it seems like the internet is just having an issue right now.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably not even. I don't even know if this. I mean, we can keep doing it Skype, but is it even worth recording? The Skype call, because we still have our mics going, which will be good. But is the Skype?
Well,
call,
I mean, I heard everything that Kelby said. He didn't cut out.
Okay. Okay. Because like you cut out for me for like.
But also, it doesn't matter though, because the audio is what will be the audio, the audio recording. So as long as I can synchronize it all up, if people freeze and cut out like visually for a while, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
So keeping on this Star Wars train, it's a deleted scene from Star Wars that has been unearthed has recently revealed or proved that Darth Vader was not always intended to be Luke Skywalker's father. A deleted clip from Star Wars proves. Hold on.
Oh, the best is that Andrew left, and it's just a picture of Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
That's a good-looking man.
That's so funny.
Man.
Kind of doing a thumbs up, but not really.
Yeah.
You don't even look tired in that picture.
Okay.
Look. Look at that. So a deleted scene from Star Wars that's been unearthed basically proves that Darth Vader was not originally intended to be Luke Skywalker's father. Let's see. So it remains one of the best plot twists of all time, but the shocking familiar lineage wasn't planned from the get-go, as evidenced by the scrapped scene. In the scene, as the rebellion scrambles to disarm the Empire's Death Star, Luke is reunited with Biggs Darklighter just before climbing into his own X-Wing. The pair's excited conversation is interrupted by Red Leader, who's concerned about Luke, who's essentially piloting his first spaceship into battle. Biggs vouches for his old friend. This is the scene as it actually is in the movie, in Star Wars. A New Hope, the first one. Biggs vouches for his old friend, saying he's the best bush pilot in the entire Outer Rim territories. This assures Red Leader of Luke's capabilities. However, an unused version of the same sequence ran a little bit longer, with Red Leader also mentioning he met Luke's father when he was just a boy, and said if his son had half the skills of his dad, he'd be just fine. In Lucas's original plan, Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader were two different characters. The former was presented as a Jedi Knight, an ace pilot who fought against the Empire during the early years of the rebellion, until the latter tracked him down and killed him. This checks out with Red Leader's claim in the aforementioned deleted scene, which means that was the case even during principal photography of Star Wars. So all this to say, there was an original version of Star Wars, the script, and it was completely different. And we've read the script. They've made a comic of the script. I have the comic. It's basically like they took the original Star Wars script and did a graphic novel of it, and it's totally different. Luke Skywalker, his name is Anakin Starkiller, and Han Solo is like an alien guy. And there's many other differences, but and in this version of it, the main character's father and Darth Vader are two separate people, and Darth Vader kills his father. However, that was like an early initial draft, and when actually going into production on the movie, George Lucas completely shifted and changed the whole script and the whole story. And at this time, he claims, and he has famously claimed for decades, that he mapped out the entire Star Wars story in the beginning. Everything that happens throughout the entire franchise, the three original movies, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, as well as the prequels, were all mapped out. He knew everything that was going to happen back in the late 70s. And people have always famously pointed out that if he did plan that out like that, then why did he have Luke and Leia kiss in the first movie?
Exactly.
But he has maintained that he planned it out. He knew everything that was going to happen. However, this deleted scene shows that even when they were shooting the movie, they were originally keeping in this whole detail that Luke's father Anakin was a pilot in the rebellion, which proves that he is not the same person as Darth Vader. Which is basically the reason why this is significant, is because this one deleted scene basically calls bullcrap on Lucas's decades-long claim that he had this whole thing mapped out from the very beginning.
I want to find out why is it bullcrap this time.
I feel how your son feels about this story. That it makes me more annoyed with Lucas even more. His whole it was all planned out. I've had everything. It's been in my head for decades, and this is exactly how I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah.
That's all.
I really feel like you hate George
I hate
Lucas,
it.
and you need to fight him, because this is like the fourth time you've said that you've hated this guy. It's like Tyler
bugs
hating
me.
people with a net worth of more than $400,000.
Hate him.
I applaud his riches and what he has done for pop culture, but why do the thing about this whole thing? I mapped it out in the 70s. Why say that? It serves no purpose. Just be like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of flew by the seat of my pants. I had this great idea. It worked. Now I'm going to keep working on it and developing it. Just man up and stop lying.
Damn.
Does this change,
Yeah,
Kurt?
they
Does this change your opinion at all? He has said it a couple times in the past, and he recently reaffirmed it. And this isn't a story on the show. This is just something I know. George Lucas's favorite Star Wars character out of all of the movies is Jar Jar.
That's it. I knew it was coming.
That doesn't help, because I only like Jar Jar because Kelby likes Jar Jar. And Kelby says it as Jar Jar.
Yeah.
See, now you admit it. Now you admit that Kelby, this whole thing is just a total smoke and mirrors job, because Kelby is just a troll. He's only saying this because he's trolling, and you are only saying that you like it just to be against me, and just to go along with Kelby.
No, I'm gonna hit you some cops. I gotta hit you some cops.
Hit him with the cops.
I like you're forgetting the thing that I like the idea of the game show. I don't like Jar Jar Binks. I like how Kelby says Jar Jar, so I support him. And I like the idea of that game show. I think that's a good idea for the game show.
I believe that too.
That's what I believe in.
Yeah, that's hard.
You guys are something else. I watched Blast from the Past with my wife last night, so I just want to speak in hokey 50s terminology now.
Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone, that
Yep.
one?
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Oh my God. I've
I don't
not
know-
thought
I don't know
about
how
that
my
movie.
wife felt about it, but I love it.
That's so funny.
Speaking of the 50s, oh man, I'm just
Ooh, you're
I'm
killing
great
the
with
segues,
these.
man.
Yeah, I'm not even doing this on purpose. It just happens. It just comes out of me. Back to the Future co-creator Bob Gale, which we've talked about in the past, shuts down plot hole arguments for good, or a plot hole argument for good. So here's one of the plot holes that's always been kind of like talked about with Back to the Future, and there's a couple different weird inconsistencies. I mean, number one, why are Doc and Marty friends?
Yes.
It's like a scientist in his 60s hanging out with a teenager who doesn't care about science.
Who doesn't care about science?
And the reason for that, and this is not the story, this is just a side thing. The reason for that is because in the original script for the movie, which I have a copy of, or at least I used to. I think I might have loaned it to somebody. In one of the original scripts for the movies, it was originally set up that Doc Brown was this mad scientist who had basically bankrupted himself and lost all of his fortune pursuing his inventions, which is how it is in the real movie. But originally, the way that he made money, he's upset being down though. Originally in the original script, the way that he made money to fund his like zany experiments was that he bootlegged porn, and then Marty sold it for him at his school.
Nice.
And that was their relationship, was that he worked for him as like he sold his bootlegged porno tapes. And they cut that out, obviously.
Yeah, that's a different vibe.
But the general relationship of them stayed in, but it weirdly lacks explanation. So another plot hole that always has been talked about, which I've definitely thought about a lot, is he goes back in time, he befriends his parents, he tells them that his name is Calvin Klein. He basically has this whole week-long experience with them where he hangs out and gets close with George McFly, and he basically trains him and coaches him on how to date his mom. He becomes his mentor. He's also simultaneously kind of dating his mom and hanging out with her. Yeah. And then he ends up and then he ends up orchestrating and getting them together. Dope. And then years later, they have their son. He grows up into a teenager, and how do they not see him and say, he looks exactly like that kid that got us together. He looks identical to him. How do they not realize that he looks identical to this guy who is this major force in their life? And so recently some filmmakers are doing this thing online, obviously for the, just activities to do while we're in lockdown. Some filmmakers are doing their like 5 perfect films. And James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and the new Suicide Squad remake, and we've talked about him on the show before, he had Back to the Future in his list. And in his list, he said, I think this is a perfect film. However, there might be one little plot hole in it that maybe precludes it from being a perfect film. And he pointed out that plot hole. So, before I say this, Tyler, what were you going to say?
Okay, so these people would think that. They would see that it looks, but then they would go and they would look up Calvin Klein because that's who they know who he is. And they would see that he's this famous person who looks nothing like this Calvin Klein guy, or nothing like what you thought he looked like. So I think they would start to think that they just imagined that younger version looked like him, because there's no like pictures back then of them to see. They would see what Calvin Klein looks like now, as not Marty McFly, and then they would look at their son and go, I guess we were just kind of projecting it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that almost even sounds more believable or plausible than this explanation that Bob Gale gives. I can get more behind that than this.
Well done, Tyler.
Thank you.
I'll explain what his explanation is, and then I'll explain why I don't kind of buy it. So, James Gunn said this, and then Chris Pratt responded to him and kind of defended it. And Chris Pratt's explanation was that he thinks that they only knew him for like a week, and it was when they were kids, that they just wouldn't remember what he looked like, so they just would never make the connection. And Bob Gale basically, in an interview, he seconded this, and he basically confirmed that this is definitely true. And what he said was, but I would ask anyone to think back on their own high school days and ask themselves how well they remember a kid who might have been at their school for even a semester, or someone you went out with just one time. If you had no photo reference after 25 years, you'd probably have just a hazy recollection. So Lorraine and George might think it funny that they once actually met someone named Calvin Klein, and even if they thought their son at age 16 or 17 had some resemblance to him, it wouldn't be a big deal. I'd bet most of us could look through our high school yearbooks and find photos of our teenage classmates that bear some resemblance to our children. So for me, I mean, that last thing just seems weird. Like,
yeah, this guy's kid looks just like the famous jock of his high school.
Yeah,
he's just like.
But so his main explanation is that they just wouldn't remember what he looked like, and I personally don't buy that. I can vividly remember the faces of kids that I went to school with when I was a kid. Like George and Lorraine, whenever Marty was 16, when he was sort of in his present day, they were in their 30s. And I'm in my 30s. And I vividly remember people that I went to middle school with, junior high. If I saw them now, I would immediately recognize them. In fact, that has happened because we see on Facebook and we pop up with things. We pop up with like friends you might know or whatever. And I'll just be like scrolling through my Facebook page. And I'll see somebody and I'll be like, is that such and such from Roswell? I would 100% recognize him. I mean, obviously, the mental leap of seeing somebody's picture on Facebook and thinking that they look like somebody you went to school with is a little bit less of a jump than looking at your son and thinking that he looks identical to somebody you met in high school. But I would definitely recognize him. So I kind of don't buy this. I buy Tyler's theory more, that they would just convince themselves that they were projecting it.
I buy Tyler's more as well, but I also buy Bob's Gale. Tyler's is definitely better.
Thank you.
But the Bob Gale one, I totally buy it. People forget shit. You don't, because you're an alien. But most people do, and they also don't make that leap of like, oh my God, my son looks like this guy that we have no pictures of that was very influential in our life, but he was only around for 5 days. Most people don't make that leap like, oh, my 16-year-old son looks exactly like that guy. So while Tyler's is definitely better, I buy Bob Gale's, 100%. I'm okay with it. I don't even think it's a plot hole. That's not even a plot hole. The bigger plot hole is the thing that you said, which is, why are Marty and Doc friends? That's weird.
Yeah.
That's a definitely bigger plot hole.
Now what's the problem? They just two homies kicking it. What's the problem?
It's better. It makes more sense if it's honestly, hey, I'm selling bootleg porn. That makes more sense.
It's always been weird, and I almost kind of like it better that like I always wondered about that. and I even like wrote it into a one-act play that I did one time, where one of the characters is just waxing poetic about the fact that Doc and Marty are friends despite having nothing in common is like symbolic for the random meaninglessness of the universe. And I like that. I've always thought about that, and then found out later on the story of like the origins of it and the real explanation for all their friends, and it's just so weird. I like it better than if they had made something that made more sense.
Agree. Like, it does make more sense for that, but I'm glad it's just like, no, they're friends, because it adds to the charm of the movie, definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of call bogus on the explanation.
I'm okay with it.
So in a surprise bit of news, something good that's come out of this whole thing. A lot of the stuff we talk about is like things getting canceled, things getting delayed. Sometimes we talk about deaths. Some negative stuff, and obviously we're all adapting, and we're seeing the silver linings of these things. But you know, we're talking about negative things a lot. But sometimes some good stuff can come out of this. So in a kind of a surprise turn of events, Apple TV is coming out with a reboot of Fraggle Rock.
Oh,
Down at Fraggle Rock.
And if that wasn't already exciting enough, because I'm super excited because I love Fraggle Rock. I mean, I like the Muppets are like one of my favorite things of all time. I love the Muppets a lot, and anything Muppet related, Muppet tertiary. I loved the Muppet Show. I loved Sesame Street. I actually love the Muppet Show more than I loved Sesame Street when I was a kid.
absolutely.
I was definitely more into the Muppet Show.
100.
Both the original Muppet Show as well as the 90s reboot, which I think was just called like, it wasn't called the Muppet Show, it was called something else. But it was basically the Muppet Show. They probably had a different name for like copyright reasons or something.
Do you think the people that favored the Muppet Show versus Sesame Street just understand sarcasm better?
Probably. Prince was on the reboot Muppet Show.
Yes, he was. It was delightful.
And I vividly remember it because he did a thing where he did like food versions of his songs, where they were in a kitchen and he was doing food versions of his songs. So he did raspberry sorbet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he did Starfish and Coffee too.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
So, and he also, that was a great episode. But anyway, I love Fraggle Rock, but it's not just that they're rebooting. It's not like that. It's not that this had been in the works and like now they're just releasing it. This has been made in response to the quarantine.
That's amazing.
So, according to Variety, the popular streaming service has ordered a new iteration of the classic series titled Fraggle Rock Rock On. Each episode will be 3 to 5 minutes long, with the first episode of the series available today for free. So these are all going to be free, even if you don't have to have a Apple TV subscription to watch it. You can watch this for free. You can watch the episode as of now, the first episode. New episodes will premiere every Tuesday for free. And interestingly, the show was shot in accordance with current social distancing guidelines. So the show is shot independently from the homes of all the different producers and artists on iPhones.
So smart.
They're shooting all of the stuff and compositing it all together and editing, but it's all being shot from their homes.
Man,
So smart.
And they didn't even think about putting it on Quibi? That's crazy.
So let's actually really quickly watch the teaser for the show.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And also, I have never seen this show. At first I didn't even know what the hell you was talking about. So
It's a great show. It's a show about a race or a species of
Muppet.
animals called Fraggles who live underground, and they live underneath this guy's. I think it's his like shop. Kind of forget, but it's just a show about this underground community of animals called Fraggles.
Yeah. And they live down at Fraggle Rock.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what the vibe is then.
Securing that bag, that's what the vibe is.
They should have put it on Quibi. Putting things out for free. Y'all crazy, babe. Y'all
All
crazy.
right.
$8 a month for that shit? I don't know.
Damn.
You guys seen it?
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Yeah, I see the YouTube link.
Raspberry puree.
It's sorbet.
Sorbet.
There's no sound. There we go.
There we go.
This theme song's killer.
Yeah, it's really good.
Bravo, Apple TV.
Good job, Apple TV.
Look at
I'm
Apple
still
TV.
Not gonna get it.
Apple TV coming up with content that's actually good.
It's me, Apple TV.
Burn.
Ha ha! Tell us how you really feel.
What do you say, Ephraim?
I didn't know that movie.
You know that movie? Yeah, we can probably watch
Oh, I
it.
thought he said
He
he
lying.
loves
Nah, he lying.
Applebee's.
Oh, you've never been to
Lying. He don't
Applebee's.
know that movie. You think Andrew would let his kid eat at the Applebee's? Come on, man. Come on, man.
Margaritas for $1. I don't know.
I actually feel like my wife and I went to Applebee's fairly frequently before he was born.
Kids ruin everything. I agree.
No, Applebee's is no good.
How dare you?
That was good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Looks
Yeah.
really, it looks really cool. This is the first thing I've seen so far that I think is just a really cool adaptation to the world as it is now. Like I think we talked about last episode that I just think like anybody who's like, oh, I'm gonna make a web series that's like what it's like
Yeah.
to be in quarantine. It's like, come on, like
Yeah, stop it.
Get it
that's
together.
that's the first draft idea. Now have a better one.
Yeah, be better.
So I love this because it's not that they're like making something that's about being in quarantine, but they're adapting and utilizing the quarantine to do something cool and interesting. So they're making an ensemble puppet show independently from all their own houses. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so smart.
And as a little side story about Applebee's, years ago, my friend and I, who you all know, his name is Chet Wild.
Hey.
We did a thing called Fastball at Chet's, which was for like literally a couple.
A huge waste of time. I was kidding.
Nope.
I'm just kidding.
Chet's gonna get mad.
For a couple years, he petitioned the band, the '90s one-hit wonder band Fastball, to play a concert in his living room. Two-hit wonder. I mean, they're all hits to me. I'm just talking about
Yeah, you like them all.
chart-wise.
Chart-wise.
He petitioned them to play a concert in his living room, and he was on a podcast at the time that was like kind of popular. So it ended up kind of becoming a real thing where they actually responded. He had real conversations with them about it, and ultimately they finally decided to agree to do it after Hurricane Harvey happened, as long as we did it as a benefit show for Hurricane Harvey relief. And so we put this whole show together. We did a Indiegogo campaign for it. We put on the show. I did all of the behind the scenes producing on it. I produced the live stream, and Fastball played in his living room. And one of the things that happened during this whole Twitter campaign was that somehow at some point he started talking about getting Applebee's to fund it. Because originally the fastball said, we'll do it, but you have to pay us. And so he was like somehow talking to Applebee's on Twitter, and Applebee's was like saying that if the band would agree to it, they might pay for it if it was sponsored by Applebee's.
Oh, wow.
And so we asked Fastball if they would be interested in having the show sponsored by Applebee's. And I literally have this on cam. I have footage of this because we interviewed them all individually. They weren't in the room with each other. They didn't see each other's interviews. And in all these individual interviews with the different members of Fastball, we asked them if they wanted Applebee's to sponsor the show, and they literally, independently of each other, they all three burst out laughing and said hell no. And then and then they went on to rant about how terrible Applebee's is.
Oh.
Like
Yes.
these guys hated Applebee's.
And now he's gonna let Ephraim eat Applebee's. You guys is looking real doofy over there.
Look at real doofy.
So we have one more quick story, and then we'll take a quick break. This is something that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So I figured Kirk could lead this one.
This couldn't be more in my wheelhouse because it's about dance, more specifically, Club MTV. Interpretive is my second passion.
Gotcha.
Club MTV is my first passion. Club MTV, which ran on MTV from like 87 to 92, starring downtown Julie Brown, Doodle Doodle Dee, Wubba Wubba Wubba. That's how she ended her shows. You all should know that. They're going to do a one-night musical event for the coronavirus, doing Club MTV, hosted by DJ Derek D. Nice, who I actually know that person. Not personally, but I know the name.
Nice.
So hosted by DJ Derek D. Nice Jones from his Los Angeles home. The special will air at 10 p.m. Saturday, April 25th, so it already passed by the time you hear this, on MTV, and it's going to be on VH1 and MTV2. Club MTV presents hashtag Dance Together with D. Nice, will encourage donations to the musical education nonprofit Save the Music Foundation to bring music programs to students in underserved communities severely impacted by COVID-19. So it's going to be a big dance party, which I'm all for. I'll probably watch it, and as I probably do, I'll probably go, nah, it's not the same.
Why don't they have downtown Julie Brown do it? I mean, she's still kicking around.
She's still kicking around. Why not?
She's
Downtown Julie Brown kicking around.
Downtown Julie Brown is the host of the 80s on 8 Sirius XM station.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or she's one of them. There's a couple different DJs, but she's one of them.
I'd always heard a rumor that she's not British.
Her accent definitely sounds.
Faking it?
I don't know. I've heard that. That's like that was a rumor for years.
Wait,
I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that's a fake accent.
I don't
Remember,
know
like
that,
Madonna tried to be British or something like
Yeah.
that. Who was it?
yeah.
That's
I don't know if that.
Oh man.
I don't know if that's true or not, but her accent definitely sounds like one of those like really watered down accents where it's like you've lived in the United States for like 30 years,
Yeah.
and your
Like the
accent
Beatles?
is basically like nearly non-existent. It's like subtly there.
Yeah, that could be it, but that was the big rumor. Huge show. We used to watch it all the time because it was Club MTV, and then right after Club MTV was Yo MTV Raps.
Yo, MTV Raps.
Hey.
So it was like just a 1 hour block of awesomeness. Like we would actually, in high school it happened, but in college we would all get together and watch it before we would go to eat dinner. And it was like that was the big thing of Club MTV, Yo MTV Raps. And then Club MTV became The Grind with Eric Nies from The Real World. Not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same. But yeah, so they're like, and if this goes well, Club MTV, maybe it'll come back. And
What year was this originally?
87 to 92, basically.
I
And
wasn't
then
born yet.
and then oh, shut up! Hate you. And then in 93, that would be the Club MTV became The Grind, and that was literally the exact same show on the exact same set, just different host.
That's whack as hell, man. They got to
Yeah.
keep it. They got to keep it the right way. But maybe he was making too much money, and he was like, "All right, let me go expand somewhere else." Probably went to VH1 or whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
He's not wrong.
No, but it was huge. I mean, they had like huge stars on at the time. It was like, Paula Abdul was on, Hammer was on.
Paula Abdul.
All right,
Oh,
I refuse to believe that
you call
Paula
him
Abdul
Hammer?
was ever a big hit.
Wait,
She had like 2 hits,
no, she had like
She was
5 or
on-
6.
and then she was on American Idol.
What?
No,
Paula.
you're
Paula
ignorant.
Abdul, Paula
Paula
Abdul
Abdul
was
had 3
huge.
huge albums.
Crazy.
She was like,
Crazy.
she was like one of the biggest pop acts in like the early '90s.
Yeah, you're ignorant. Please don't be.
Please.
Do your,
Kirk and Tyler really got to throw balls, man.
And not
I
only
think
that,
Kirk
but
he might hate him more than George Lucas.
I'll get my son on you.
yeah, not only was
hell
not
no.
only was
Oh,
she
your son's a big Paula Abdul fan.
He is if I
should
say
be.
he is.
and not only was she huge and had 3 big albums, but that was like that was like a second stage of her career. She came from being like one of the most in-demand dance choreographers in the business.
She's the reason why Janet Jackson was so popular, because she gave Janet Jackson all her dance moves in the first album. And she was a Laker girl.
That doesn't. Who cares?
Oh my God, Tyler.
Nah, Tyler don't know the vibes, man. He don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just-
Straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever?
It's the
You
only
get her
song she
words
has.
out of your mouth, Tyler.
Yes.
You don't deserve to sing her tunes.
That's true. I did just watch a video on how on how Paula Abdul completely ruined her career in like one interview or something like that.
by
But
being
outside of that,
by being a creepy CEO type.
What?
I don't know.
What?
She used her power to date one of the American Idol people. Don't think
oh
I
no,
forgot.
that's not what it was. It was like
Don't
she was
think I
doing an
forgot
interview
Paula Abdul.
and
I don't forget.
she was a little drugged up.
Oh, okay.
But
oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Paula's a legend.
I mean,
man. We love Paula.
Tyler's a little drugged up.
That's facts. That's facts.
Raspberry Truly.
We cannot see that.
I know. I'm trying. It's just.
All I
Paula
see is
Abdul.
MC Scat Cat.
All right, now that Tyler's besmirched the name of Paula Abdul, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna do something special and new.
Hey.
We'll be back. Oh, we'll be back. I literally keep forgetting to do this. We'll be
Yep.
back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
And we're back. And now, we're going to do our regular segment, but we're going to do it in a different way.
Oh.
So normally, this is a segment where we talk about unsubstantiated rumors or other unconfirmed news in the nostalgia sphere and talk about whether we think it's a good idea or not. But as I sort of anticipated a couple episodes ago, there are no rumored stories this week. So instead, we're going to do a special augmented version of this segment where we pitch our own ideas for nostalgic related movie or TV show ideas or whatever it is. And then we'll each give each other a score on whether we think it's a good idea or not. And this segment is called Can You Go For That? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Can you go for that? Can you go for that? Rooney's edition. All right.
Did anybody prepare for this?
I did, kind of.
I did.
Okay, good. You guys go first.
Yeah, I knew. Kirk had something in the locked and loaded last episode,
Yeah.
and I figured Kelby probably had something. I didn't really have anything. I kind of had my so I didn't really have anything, and I was kind of thinking like, oh, what should I have? What should I come up with or whatever? And then based on a couple of the stories for this episode, I remembered this old idea that I had. So that's the one I'm going to go with.
Oh.
I like it.
Kelby, you want to go or I'll go? It's up to you.
All right, you go ahead.
Okay.
What
Mine's
about
fast.
Hidalgo?
Hidalgo.
That was my pitch.
Open that safe.
You just note for note pitch Hidalgo.
Yeah, but with Ryan Reynolds instead of Vigo.
like it.
Okay, it's a TV pitch. You take Cheers, you take Hill Street Blues, mash them together. What do you have? Cop Bar.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
That's definitely what our country wants right now is more cops.
a retired cop owns the bar instead of a retired baseball. Recovering alcoholic, same thing. Still a love interest, but the love interest is a woman that he put behind bars years ago. Might have done it underhandedly, but there's still that sexual tension. She's on parole. He gives her the job at the bar because he feels bad that he busted her without cause. But it's a cop bar. Boom.
I love it.
Is that it?
So that's it.
No, that's it.
Okay.
The elevator pitch. That's all the time. The door's open. You either buy it or you don't. By the way, CBS is really interested in it. I'm just saying. Just saying.
That's who would be interested.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I need to know one thing. I need to know who plays the bar owner, and that's all I need.
The bar owner is played by, boy, oh boy. Let me see who's got to commit. Who's committed verbally to us? Wait, my assistant is bothering me right now.
Go ahead.
I want a Zoom call and you're so loud.
Tell her that all of her information is being stolen.
Okay, bye. I just got.
Hey,
chatted.
we were on this before. We precluded her Zoom call.
Exactly.
Is that your daughter or your wife?
That was my daughter.
You think that was his wife? That
People
childlike
have young
voice.
voices.
That's Tyler.
People have young voices.
Okay. Here's who's it's gonna star.
Okay.
Because proven track record, he's gonna leave CSI LA.
Oh,
It's
God.
gonna be LL Cool J.
Oh, okay.
You thought I was gonna say Chris O'Donnell? No.
Oh.
Chris O'Donnell doesn't have the chops.
Okay. I mean,
So-
I definitely can go for that. I like Cheers.
Deepest bluest, my hat is like a shark's fin.
All right, that's it. Now you can choose. You can pass. You can give me 13 episodes, or you can give me 22.
okay. Oh, this is an episodic. This isn't a movie.
Yeah, this is a TV show.
Okay, I like that. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
half hour TV show,
Okay.
comedy drama.
All right.
I want pass 13 or 22.
All right. I'll give it a 13 episode run. It's greenlit for one season though. And that's it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I can go for that. I think that it would be one of those shows that you would have to kind of mid-season replacement it to see how well it does with maybe 6 episodes because of the aspect of the police where so many people dislike cops, and I don't know if anybody would want to watch a show with cops per se, but it's also still a good idea. So it's like we'd have to see how the people react with a short run. So I can go for that mid-season replacement.
I will take a short run, 6 episodes, if I get gross points.
If you get, what is it?
If I get gross points, not net points.
I like it.
We talk about that.
Strategy.
Okay.
Gross
I gotta
Point
get my
Blank.
bag. Great movie. Andrew, the elevator pit door is opened.
I can go for that. 22 episodes.
Oh.
Damn.
That's one of those shows that you just want to watch forever.
Full 1970s series going on over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just one of those shows where you're just like, oh, give me more episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't even have to be good. Just the format alone, you just want to live in that world.
No. And trust me, most of the episodes will not be good.
Will not be good.
Because 22 episodes of this is a lot.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Checks in the mail?
Kelby.
All right. So
Kelby.
I came up with this idea mostly because I know something about famed dramatic actor with a point, Denzel Washington. I know that when Denzel was much younger, he trained under somebody, I probably shouldn't say his name, but he's actually a very talented martial artist. So,
R.
Kevin
Kelly?
Spacey. Oh.
no. I don't know if I should say his name because I don't know. He just told it to me, so whatever. Either way.
Oh, okay.
So I know that he's a talented martial artist. So what if there was kind of like a remake of the Karate Kid, but Denzel is like this much older, very wise guy who has a neighbor who's maybe, if we were working off of today's time, he's an Asian child who's being bullied at school, or he is an Indian child who also is being bullied at school and decides that he wants to take his fate into his own hands. If anybody starts messing with him, he needs to be able to stand up for himself. Also, the kid is kind of weak too. You know, he's like, when people bully him, he start running and crying and stuff. So he needs to learn how to defend himself. And Denzel Washington, you know, this guy who hasn't beat anybody up or exercised his martial arts skills in, I don't know, 20 years or so, decides to get back into the game one last time to teach this kid how to be a man.
I like the lean. I like the leaning back. The lean back.
I'm gonna just jump out the gate here and say I cannot go for that. It sounds like the worst Karate Kid version ever. Like, you want Denzel Fences Washington to teach a kid how to do martial arts.
It's not about the martial arts, but yeah.
What is he gonna teach him though? Like,
It's
that's
about
what I mean.
character. It's about character. But
Yeah.
Denzel, as I'm saying, he's a talented martial artist. You don't
Gotcha.
expect that, you know, because you've been watching The Equalizer, but he's a talented martial artist.
I said my piece. You guys need to move on.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with some cobs. I can go for that only if Denzel is signed on.
Ah.
If Denzel is
Denzel
not
is
signed
what?
on, is Denzel attached? If Denzel's
Yeah,
attached,
if he ends up passing and then it goes to like,
if it goes to Wesley, I'll still take it. So
That makes
if-
so much more sense, though. Actually,
if it goes to Tay Diggs.
Nah.
you're the worst.
Yeah, then I'm going to
Come on,
pass.
man.
Cancel the movie.
So if you can
It has
guarantee
to
me,
be Denzel.
if you can guarantee me Denzel or Wesley's fine, that's a lower budget movie. It's a lower budget movie, but you still get your movie made. I can go for that. If those two pass, then I'm passing.
Isn't Denzel like 60 years old?
That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, so was Mr. Miyagi
Yeah.
was super old.
Yeah.
When he actually.
But the thing is, I think Denzel got that range where he's going to be able to scream at the kid, and you know he's not really screaming at him. He's just instilling spine.
Okay, so wait, but doesn't it seem a little weird? You said that if it's the Asian kid, it's gonna seem a little too much like a white savior kind of feeling. Like, why is he teaching him? You know what I mean?
What?
Never mind.
I
I don't
like
know how to
the
explain it anymore.
Ain't no white people in this movie.
Oh, I like that. Trust me, I like that. I'm tired of
white
seeing
people.
white people.
Are you guaranteeing me Denzel Washington?
Denzel will come in, and not only that, he's gonna point. He's
All right.
gonna have a speech that's gonna knock your head off. He's
I-
gonna say something to the degree of, listen here, kid. One day you're gonna have to stand up off of the sidewalk, and you're gonna have to realign your spine, and you're gonna have to be a man.
All right, was that?
Your Denzel like slightly slips into Sammy Davis Jr. territory.
Oh, I was thinking your Denzel was absolutely Heath Ledger's the Joker.
Oh,
You
Whatever.
like the lip smack like
that's hurtful.
It's a pretty good Denzel, but it goes a little bit into Sammy Davis.
that face is so perfect though.
All right, Andrew. Andrew, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm gonna also have to hit you with the caveats. I can go over that, but you got to do something to stand out, because there are so many of these movies of like an old guy mentoring a kid, and I can already see the whole movie. The whole movie just it all makes sense to me. It all sticks out. I see where it's going, and it's gonna have to do something a little different than these other movies.
If you say I gotta put Michael B. Jordan in it, just cancel it. Just cancel it.
You froze him.
Kelby, no, you froze.
There he is,
What
there he is,
did you
there
say, Kelby?
I say if you tell me I have to put Michael B. Jordan in a movie, we could just cancel it. It's a wrap.
Nah.
All right.
I also agree. I feel like it'd make a little bit more sense if the kid was like Indian or something like that.
Indian was good. Indian was good.
I feel like it
I
would
was
feel
thinking
weird if he
Indian
was
would
Asian.
be perfect. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at.
Why? Because you don't expect it. You know what I mean? Like, because not only other people know martial arts. That's what I'm saying. Like, tell me the dude's name who was in Marvel's first movie. What's his name?
Chris Pratt.
Robert Downey Jr.
The black guy. He's a martial artist.
Terrence.
Terrence Howard?
No.
What?
Before all of this, he was in Marvel's first movie. It was kind of a Michael J. White. Michael J. White.
What was
Very-
he?
Oh, he's a legit martial artist.
He's a
Oh,
real
it's-
martial
yeah.
artist. That's what I'm
Is that
saying.
Spawn?
Like,
You should have said Spawn.
Yeah, he's
is that
in
what it
Spawn.
was? Spawn. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot. It slipped my mind. But yeah,
Gotcha.
he's a real martial artist. So I feel like it removes that, like, I don't want to call it a stigma, but it's like a stereotype that only one race of people know how to do martial arts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I see it. I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on board. You get Denzel on board. Or wait,
I mean, if you've seen Ghost Dog: Way of the Samurai,
it's a great movie. Let me throw one more caveat at you.
Let's hear it.
I get what you're saying. Maybe you don't do Wesley because he's so well known for doing martial arts. If you can't get Denzel, then get me Renee.
Zellweger?
Oh my God.
My bad.
I know Regina
Regina King.
Regina King. I was thinking Renee King. That's a girl I had a crush on in high school. Regina King.
He is in his house with his wife, bold as hell. So, yeah,
Boasting.
Remember Shorty from high school?
Yeah, I like
yeah.
other
about to-
women.
I'm about to check her out on Facebook right now. Let me see what the vibes is looking like in 2020.
Listen. I can buy a black guy doing martial arts, but
no.
woman, no way.
God damn it.
And we
so you
got-
read
Yeah,
my
like
mind.
a
He
woman
said
being
Regina
black,
King.
that's insane.
I
I
think
would
Regina
have said
King.
I don't think it's a movie about them learning how to shoot somebody. You know,
I think Regina King as second position is really interesting.
she's a little young though. She's a little young.
She's my age.
She's young.
Take
Oh,
the
thank
compliment,
you.
Kirk.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Kirk. Jesus
She's young.
Christ.
Denzel can pull off that, like, I've been retired for a little bit. Nah, you know, I don't train kids anymore.
Angela
and then you see
Bassett.
them get beat up in the street.
Angela Bassett would be good.
She gonna teach that kid how to be crazy, not karate.
Wait a minute. You have a hookup. Just get Tisha Campbell. It's a lower budget movie.
I think Tashina will probably do a better job than
Next
Oh.
episode, Kelby's gonna show us a trailer for this movie.
Yeah.
I could do all
Oh
kinds
my
of things.
God.
Don't be surprised.
That would be the best thing ever. Yeah, teaching
And it's
Arnold's
just
good
her.
too. I'd say that.
It's her and the kid from Everybody Hates Chris, and she's just teaching them. Boy, you
They're
just
just
do
back
that
with them.
karate.
That's a good guy.
Tyler?
Yeah, what
Tyler,
you?
yeah.
No, Tyler, you're up.
Oh, is it my turn?
Oh,
All right.
no, Tyler. Yeah, but yes, Tyler.
Okay, so my idea, I just came up with it while you guys were talking, is a mix between the Lord of the Flies and Lost. So, these and it has to like it.
Isn't Lost like already
Yeah.
just incorporating Lord of the Flies?
Well, yeah,
That's what I
I
thought.
mean, I'm trying to add a government feel to it though. Like, okay, sorry, Lord of the Flies and Cabin in the Woods, then, kind of like that then. So the entire series starts off with supposedly a bunch of parents putting their kids on a boat, headed towards a location that doesn't have some kind of virus. Topical. And they crash land on an island, but the island is being surveyed by the world government to kind of do tests on these kids and see how they react in a world that doesn't have parents. So, long story short, they go through that kind of they pick a leader and they have structure, but it turns out that they're far more organized than the adults ever thought of the government. And then the kids start to realize what's going on, and then they start to turn it so they can slowly get towards the government and gain power. They keep pretending like they think they're stranded on this island with no help, but they know that the government's doing it, and they start to act in a way that gets them closer to defeating them. That's kind of my whole idea there. And it has the government leader is Timothy Oliphant, and the kids leader is Timothy Chalamet. It only needs 12 episodes a season, and it is HBO greenlit. Are you in or are you out?
That is the most Tyler pitch I've ever heard.
I think Kirk likes it.
I want to pass on it, but I'm not going to.
I was hoping you were going to say, "So I will." I can't go for that.
I can just barely go for that because it does sound like Lost a lot, but I like the
Well,
aspect.
they're not all in purgatory at the end.
Well, yeah,
I'll tell you that. That's just
I appreciate that.
yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's a that they band together and like try to defeat the government, because then it's a us versus them.
Right, exactly. And it's like we find there. I don't know how to do it. I'll need Andrew and you to help me, but we'll find a way for adults, like real adults, like people over 30, to see themselves in these children.
So we have to do your work.
Let's reword.
And
First,
obviously,
I'll give you your first bit of advice. Let's reword the way you said that.
I know that was the point, but okay.
Well, I can't go for it then if I have to do work.
Gotcha. If you have to do work, gotcha.
You know, I really wanted to say, get that out of here. It's garbage. But my man said Timothy Oliphant. I like this guy. He kind
I
of
love
reminds me
Timothy
of
Oliphant.
Kirk a little bit. And I know you guys are about to jump on me. No, he doesn't. He has a bigger nose. And all this. But for some reason, he reminds me of Kirk. Just like the other person that reminded me of Kirk that you guys said reminded you of not Kirk at all.
Michael Ian Black.
Michael
Whoever
Ian
that
Black.
guy is. Whoever
Kirk
that
got
is, he
stuck
reminds
with
me of
Kirk
Kirk.
somehow.
So I'm gonna say yeah, because I like this guy. You know, he was on an episode of Grandfather, and I liked his appearance there. So yeah, give him a show.
Cool.
What a strange
Wait.
reason to
Wait,
greenlight
Yeah.
it.
Andrew, before you give your comment, turn to your left and give the picture a kiss.
Ah, so
And now do-
nice.
And not do it. And not do it. That was perfect.
I'm about to tag his wife.
Nope, it's not. Oh, now it's
There it is. Perfect.
Oh, this is a good one.
No, stop it. Okay, we get it.
A little tongue in there too. Come on.
There's some major logistical issues in this.
How so?
I don't buy that this group of teenagers is somehow smart enough to manipulate and overthrow the government unless they are like pre-established as being some kind of like gifted group of like geniuses. Like why are these kids able to do this? And
the entire thing is that they have been grown for this very specific reason, so they would be very smart because the supposed parents that put them on the raft or boat to the island are government plants as well. They were never their parents. They were just people there to enhance everything possible about them.
so I think the way you simplify that and make that a little bit work a little bit better is that you just skip that whole thing and it's just about like
The island.
it's just it's like the island. It's like these genetically created people that they've created in a lab and bred for this experiment who seem like they are kind of dumb, but then they actually aren't as dumb as they act like, or they start to rapidly gain intelligence and start to manipulate and overthrow. And the other thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me is like how they would gain control of the government if they're just being monitored on an island. Like how would they even do
That's
that?
what I meant by the cabin in the woods type. The facility is encapsulated in the island, so underneath would be all the stuff. So early on season 1, they would find some way to get there, but they wouldn't go there finally until probably season 2, mid-season.
Yeah,
2,
I think it works a lot better, makes a lot more sense if there's a government research facility underneath this little village that they live in. And it's not necessarily the government, but it's a bunch of like government employed scientists.
Right.
And yeah, they're genetically modified to be these like test experiments. They start to manipulate. And like you said, eventually they get down into the underground facility. I like that a lot better.
Okay.
I can go for that.
Definitely gonna start writing that down now.
It's
I love
crazy
it.
that you were just coughing in Tyler's face like that. I think that's crazy.
Okay, so my idea is a psychological horror movie that takes place in the Back to the Future universe.
Oh.
So
I love it already. I already love it. I'll tell you so much right now.
So, whenever Marty McFly goes back to the past, the way that he scares his dad into wanting to go to the dance with Lorraine is that he breaks into his house. He appears to him over his bed in a hazmat suit or in a radiation suit, and he tells him that he is Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. And then he pulls out a hairdryer as a laser gun, and then he blasts Van Halen music in his ear. And
that's just the plot of Back to the Future.
yes, that's what happens in Back to the Future. That's how he scares him into wanting to go to the dance with his mom, because he doesn't want to, because he's too scared. And so my idea is that, so the implication of this is that, and this is like a bigger plot hole or weird thing than even the other things we talked about earlier in the episode, that from George McFly's perspective, he just goes on living the rest of his life thinking that an alien visited him. Like, that didn't get revealed as like fake. Like, he just thinks that he was visited by an alien. In fact, he writes it at the end of Back to the Future, whenever Marty goes back to the present, he discovers that the world has been changed and his parents have become like better people, and he discovers that his dad has become this successful science fiction writer, and then he gets copies of his new book in the mail, and his new book is like about the alien. Like the cover of the book is like a picture of the alien thing that visited him. And so and also when he first crash lands when he first goes back in time, he crashes into the barn on the Peabody farm, and the family comes out and they see him. They see the DeLorean. They think he's an alien. They chase him off with a shotgun. And I'm sure that guy probably told somebody that he saw this alien. Probably he would go and tell the news. And even if people wrote it off as like a hoax or a fake thing, it would be in the news. So my idea is that George McFly wouldn't forget these things. He wouldn't just forget all these things. So through the years, in fact, these things would be so burned into his mind. So throughout the years, as he gets older, he starts seeing these things pop up in the zeitgeist. He sees Star Wars come out, and he's like, Darth Vader? He sees Star Trek come out, because he's a huge sci-fi nerd, so he loves all this stuff. He sees Star Trek come out, and he's like, Vulcan? He lives to the 80s. He hears Van Halen. He hears this music. He sees the invention of blow dryers. So he sees all these things that are like coming back to this moment that he had in his life. He heard the stories of the alien that crashed into the barn at Old Man Peabody's farm, and he makes the connection. So over the years, even though he marries Lorraine, even though he becomes a science fiction writer, even though he like ostensibly seems like this normal guy, he's making all these connections in his mind, and he's noticing all these things, and he is coming to the conclusion that there is some kind of this alien that visited him. He's planting little references for George McFly specifically to notice. He's putting things into our society for George to see, and he's giving him messages that he's returning. He's coming back. So George McFly, he starts a cult based around this alien and the return of this alien race. And he believes that this alien race is going to return and take over the world. And so he becomes a follower of Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, and he starts a cult around it. So cut to years later, he secretly has this cult that his family doesn't know about. On the outside, he's a normal guy, but in reality, he's the leader of this like Lovecraftian, alien-worshipping death cult that believes that one day the aliens are going to return to the Earth and take over. And so his son grows up, and the final message, he looks at him and he says, this guy, my son looks exactly like this guy that appeared to us when I was in high school and convinced me to go to this dance and date this girl that's my wife now. My wife was impregnated by this alien. Calvin Klein was the humanoid form of this alien. He impregnated my wife, and she gave birth to the chosen
alien human hybrid?
Messiah. That it's an alien human hybrid. So one day, Marty McFly gets home from high school. He just comes home. It's a normal day. Back to the Future is played out. Everything worked out. He got his 4x4. Months have gone by. Everything's back to normal. One day he comes home from school, and he goes into his house, and his mom is tied to like an altar. And there's all these people in robes in his house. And his father reveals to him. He tells him about all the messages that the alien has given to him throughout the years. He tells him that he is the Messiah, the alien human Messiah, and that they need to sacrifice his mom. So they burn his mother alive. And then the movie is he's basically escaping from this death cult. And it's like this tense psychological home invasion thriller where he's like trapped in his house, navigating through it, trying to avoid this death cult led by his father. And he's like, it's like a weird combination of like Die Hard and like Home Alone and like Get Out, where he's like killing cultists and setting traps for them, and the entire time he's evading his father, who's like the mastermind. He's like the Hans Gruber. And then the final showdown is he faces off against his dad, and then he, like, throughout this entire thing, he's trying to tell him and convince him that he did that, and that he basically has to tell him about the time machine and all this stuff. And at the end, originally I thought like, oh, he would just kill his dad at the end, but I feel like it would be really leaving money on the table if the movie doesn't culminate with him showing his dad the time machine and like taking him back in time and showing him everything that he did, kind of like in Back to the Future, how the whole thing of Back to the Future is that he goes back to the 50s and he watches himself doing things. So he's there twice in the timeline. So the final act of the movie is that he goes back in time to the 50s. So there are 3 Marty McFlys in the 50s.
Oh.
He's watching himself watch himself do all these things. His father sees it, but instead of being like, "Oh, I was wrong all these years," he just goes insane with having his entire belief system disproven. And so he starts running amok through time. And then it becomes Marty McFly trying to stop him from killing his own past self and killing the past Marty McFly and erasing them from the timeline. And the final act of the movie is him just chasing him through the 50s, trying to stop him from killing his young self and then young Marty McFly. And then he finally stops him and kills him.
All right.
It's a movie.
It's a movie. I am here for. I can go for that with some caveats. One major caveat is the movie starts right as he gets back from fixing everything the last time. So he walks in and that's when he sees his mom.
Yeah,
And
so it's not months later. He wakes up from going back in time, and it immediately happens. That's the day. That's the day that his dad has decided to reveal to him.
Exactly. And then secondly, the only thing I need from this is he says, "We have to kill your mother," and Marty McFly goes, "What? No, never. I would never do that." And then he goes, "What are you, chicken?" And Marty McFly kills his mom on being called chicken alone.
That's insane.
No, but other than that, I would. Is there a way to like actually get Crispin Glover to do it? Because that.
No,
would be
yeah,
perfect.
he would have to play George McFly.
Okay, good. Okay. Then I'm definitely 100%. I can go for that. Yes, that's a perfect premise, Andrew.
This is another instance where I want to pass and say I can't go for that. But fun fact, I'm fascinated by cults, so I love that angle. So I can go for that. I do think it's really complex and complicated to digest. So I would streamline it for something more mainstream, or I kick it over to my specialty division and you could have Final Cut. Your choice.
Okay.
Yeah. You can do it. You can do it your vision, but with less money.
I'd probably take that option.
I figured you would. Go ahead, Kel.
I think that if I was running the company and business to me, I would be like, all right, look, there's a lot going on in this movie. I think it would be very difficult for the general public to watch it, keep up, and it also feels like it would be very long, which means that it sounds like be very expensive. So I would say no off of that. Off of the strength of there's so much going on. But similar to Kirk, if you say, yo, look, I can make this movie for a limited budget, and we maybe run it through the festival circuit, and then eventually it finds distribution on its own end, and it wouldn't look bad on a much smaller budget, I would kick the idea around a little bit, and eventually maybe say yes, because I know that there is that value behind Back to the Future. So I think if you were, so that's my answer. Yes, if you could do it for like $1 million. No, if you can't.
I'm going to alter my scenario a bit. Now I am the president of Shudder.
Oh.
You can do it however you want, but you're only getting that Shudder money.
I mean, I'd take it.
You take it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
the idea that it's shot as an indie film kind of makes it even better. It gives
Yeah.
it'll probably give it more quality to that like that real horror feeling.
I mean, just give me $6 million. No, give me $4 million.
I can give you
Listen,
4.
Get this guy out of the building.
$4 million?
I
That's
can give you
that's
4.
nothing.
I absolutely think if we didn't even if we didn't market it at all as an actual Back to the Future add-on, it would still get the conspiracy theorists and the people that believe it is to come in and watch it either way. So I think no matter how you sell it, it's going to make a lot of money back. I would 100% give $6 million to this movie.
I would not give 6. I would give 4, but you got to give me nudity.
Oh, definitely.
Give me nudity, you got your 4. No, I mean literally you as the director give me nudity,
Oh,
not
yeah.
in the movie.
I mean, that.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'll do that.
Okay. All right. Then yeah.
I wouldn't give it more than $1 million. I wouldn't give it more than $1 million. I really don't see
What?
a lot of money because it seems like it's something for
I mean, if
specific crowd.
we get Leah Thompson in there to play Lorraine, like, you know,
Yeah.
she fucked a duck. She'll do that.
Sorry? Oh.
1 million seems way
Howard
low.
the Duck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 1 million seems super low budget, even for this.
That seems
I
short
mean,
change.
even like that, 1 million wouldn't even premiere at Sundance.
Andrew, don't take that deal.
I don't see it making more. I don't see it.
Oh.
I think it's too complex. If they had less,
If it had less stuff to it, then yes. But when I thought he was done explaining the movie, there was another chapter to it. So then I'm like, oh snap, okay. So at this point, the movie sounds like it's a 3-hour long movie, you know. So it's like that already is gonna turn people off. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's the one story that people would be willing to go sit down for. I think it sounds amazing, and either way, you should write it up, Andrew. I'd read that entire script just for funsies.
Let me just say this, just to counter that thought.
Okay.
Let me pull this up. What the fuck is it?
I actually hate that this idea is so good because I want to see it really bad.
The numbers. Worldwide box office. Yeah, never mind. I can't find any information on this. All right. Well, this has been a special edition of Can You Go For That? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Oh, oh, oh. Oh, can you go for that? Can you go for that? Can you go for that? Rona's edition. And by the way, this guy that's talking crap about us on YouTube, saying that our shit is clickbait and that like we didn't talk about the Boy Meets World thing enough and calling us SJWs and making everything about race or whatever. He said that he couldn't make it through 5 minutes of it because there was too much dabbing at the beginning. So Tyler, look what you did.
Let's not put the blame on me. He couldn't make it through 5 minutes because the drinking his mom did at birth probably fucked up his mental state.
Oh.
But that being said, I'm also drinking alcohol right now, and it's only 3 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon.
And you're 6 months pregnant.
My boobs say so.
Last couple stories before we wrap things up in this very long episode plagued with internet issues. So a couple more things. So Paul Haddad, who was the original voice of Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 2, has passed away at 56. He voiced Leon Kennedy in the character's Resident Evil 2 debut. He passed away. This story didn't say a cause of death. But I read somewhere else, and I just couldn't find it again, that he passed away from throat cancer, non-coronavirus related. Paul Haddad, our dear friend and an icon among the Resident Evil community, has passed away recently. We've been truly honored to have our chance to meet and work with such a great man and a brilliant professional that he was. Rest in peace. Haddad started his acting career in the late 80s in the television drama Night Heat. But is best known for his performance as Resident Evil 2 protagonist Leon Kennedy. He would go on to feature in cartoons like The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and X-Men, the animated series, most notably voicing Pietro Quicksilver Maximoff. So yeah, he was the voice of Quicksilver in the X-Men, the animated series. But more significantly, to me at least, he was the voice of Leon. When I was a kid, I love the Resident Evil games. I love everything horror, whether it's movies or TV or video games. I loved Resident Evil when I was a kid. I loved survival horror games. Resident Evil 2 was not only the first Resident Evil game I ever played, but it was definitely my favorite, and it remains to be my favorite Resident Evil game as well as my favorite survival horror game. It's such a great game. It was really interesting in how there was basically 2 discs, and one of the discs you played as Leon, and then in the other disc you played as Claire, and you basically replayed the same story from different perspectives. So in the first disc, you would play through the same timeline of going to the Raccoon City and being trapped in Raccoon City with the zombies, and you played it as Leon with all of his story points and places he went. And then you played in the second disc the whole thing all the way through again, but as Claire in her version of it with all the places she went. So it was a completely different game because they went in completely different directions. And then at key moments they overlapped and met up. It was a really cool concept for a game, and I loved every second of it. So yeah, R.I.P. Paul Haddad. He didn't go on to voice Leon in any of the other iterations, but he voiced him in the best. Last story, just to end on a little bit more of a positive note. The Bluesmobile from the film Blues Brothers, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, was spotted driving around playing music to ease the strain of the lockdown. A replica of the iconic vehicle used in the Blues Brothers movie has been seen and heard driving around Buckinghamshire playing feel-good music to everyone stuck in lockdown. Photographer Gil Prince said she heard the Bluesmobile blasting out Bring Me Sunshine from the huge speaker strapped to its roof. Pictures showed the Dodge Monaco sedan driving around a residential area in the Oakwood neighborhood and was kitted out just as it was in the 1980 movie. The driver also appeared to be wearing the iconic black attire of the film's protagonist, along with sunglasses and a fedora. And this was in the UK, in Buckinghamshire.
Buckinghamshire.
Good people over there, good
And
people.
this is what it was looking like. Somebody took a picture of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Oh yeah.
I'm about to go do the same thing with my car.
What was it blasting?
Bring Me Sunshine.
I don't even know that. Must be a blues song.
Yeah.
Bring Me Sunshine. Willie Nelson.
My sunshine.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
that's sweet.
People are out there trying to ease the strains in what little ways they can. For instance,
Yeah.
if you happen to have a movie accurate prop replica of the Blues Brothers car,
Why not use it?
all right. So yeah, thanks for listening. If you haven't done so already and you like the show, feel free to subscribe. If you have a friend that hasn't heard it, maybe share it with them. If you want to follow up with what we're doing, news on the podcast as well as all the nostalgia content we're doing on a regular basis, then you can follow us on Facebook, the official Nostalgia Facebook page. You can follow us on Instagram at Nostalgia. And yeah, stay safe out there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. See y'all later.